Okay, great. Okay. All right, folks. And I know people are still coming in, but we're going to get started. So this is the Arts and Humanities Fellowship Program for FY 2026. This is for our coming fiscal year. All right, so let me get us started here. Okay, so we like to start all of our meetings with a land acknowledgement to recognize the Nacotchtank and the Piscataway people, the first residents of the land that would become the District of Columbia. Every community owes its existence and vitality to generations from around the world who contributed their hopes, dreams, and energy to making the history that led to this moment. Some were brought here against their will, some were drawn to leave their distant homes in hope of a better life, and some have lived on this land for more generations than can be counted. Truth and acknowledgement are critical to building mutual respect and connection across all barriers of heritage and difference. We begin this effort to acknowledge what has been buried by honoring the truth. We stand on the ancestral lands of the Nacotchtank and the Piscataway people. We pay respects to their elders past and present. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events and to use such truths to guide the legacy of this Arts Commission. So we are the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities. We were first established in 1968 and we are an independent agency of the District of Columbia government. We evaluate and initiate matters relating to arts and humanities. We encourage programming and the development of programs that promote progress in the arts and humanities for the city. We are the designated state arts agency for the District of Columbia. We are supported primarily through district funds and in part by the National Endowment for the Arts. So just a few notes on accessibility. On our website, we do have a Google Translate option you can plug in. So when you go to our website, there should be an option in the menu at the top right corner that will do a Google Translate of the page. I can't make any promises about how effective it is or how well it translates, but we do have that available as an option. For any other reasonable accommodation requests for access and inclusion, we do ask that you reach out to us at our new accessibility contact, which is cahaccessibility@dc.gov. So cahaccessibility@dc.gov, no later than 5 business days before the start of the event. If you have any need for an interpreter or any other services like that, that's the contact point you're going to go for. For any other questions, you can reach out to us at cah@dc.gov. And I also have some contact names coming up in a few slides. And just one quick plug before I dive into this. We are always looking for grant review panelists. You may be a reviewer and an applicant in the same year, if that is of interest to you. But our panels and our panelists are pretty integral to the grant making process. They provide the reviews, the comments, and the scoring of all of the applications for our grant programs. And we are looking for diversity in our panelists across all sectors: age, race, gender, ability, sexual orientation, artistic discipline, location. And this is a paid opportunity. There is a stipend that we pay out with gift cards for participation. So do consider that. More information about that is on our website. Okay, that was all of the front-loaded stuff. So here is our real agenda for today. I'm gonna go over the basics of the program, and we've gone over a bit of that right now. And then we're gonna head into the staff for this program and the cohorts. We'll talk about eligibility and the deadline, required questions, the narrative sections, the application uploads, the pieces of the application, and then how to navigate the portal and some of the required documents, and that will be it. And like I said, there are some breakpoints I have scheduled for question and answer, but also please utilize the chat box. I'll try and keep an eye on it so that I can answer questions as we go. Right, so what is this program? This is the Arts and Humanities Fellowship Program. This is an annual award that we give out to artists to support their continued work in the arts and humanities. It is not a project-based grant. It is just an annual award that we give out. Who can apply are DC-based DC resident. You have to be a DC resident arts and humanities practitioner above the age of 18. How much is the award? The awards are a flat amount for awardees. We do endeavor to award as many people as possible and as many grantees as we can, as much as in a meaningful way. So for reference, the award last year was $7,000. This program has been growing a lot. It is a competitive program, and so we do have a lot of applicants every year, but we do not have infinite money. So not everyone will be awarded, unfortunately. And then, do you need a specific project for this grant? You do not. I'm gonna just mute a few folks here. You do not need a project. Nothing specific is required for this grant. This is looking to just support you however you need to be supported. You may use the funds if you are awarded, however you need to in order to continue to work. And that can be paying your rent, that can be getting studio space, that can be contracting with other artists for a project, whatever you need. But it is an open grant, and we're not going to ask for a specific project, no specific budget or timeline for anything there. Okay. So the staff, we have a rough guideline that I'm going to talk about in a little while about cohorts, which is an organization tool that we use just to make sure that we get the right people reviewing applications and taking a look at things. So to kind of focus our questions for different people, we have our cohort contacts. So I am your contact for general questions. So I am Carrie Kaliba, and there's my email address there, and I'll bring this page back up at the end of this. And then broadly speaking, for questions relating to dance, you'll reach out to Marcia Howard. For design, you'll come back to me. For go-go artists, Patience Rowe. For humanities, Kayla Williams. For interdisciplinary, Tanya Myers. For media questions, Mauricio Pita. For music is Robert Nunez. Teaching artists are Andrea Brown. Theater and performing arts will go to Sherry. And visual arts will go to Danielle. I just got a note that slides are not being shown. Can people see what I'm talking about? Okay. Okay, so some folks can see them. Okay, just want to double check. Great, thank you. Just wanted to double check. That may just be I'm sorry, a you thing. But we are recording this, so we will have all the slides available, and we'll make sure we post them as well. So thanks for checking. I just wanted to make sure I hadn't made something wrong. Okay, great. And then in your but yes, if you have any general questions, or if you reach out to folks and you don't get an answer fast enough, you can always reach out to me, and I can always direct your question. We'll get answers out to everybody, I promise. And we have a lot of other additional resources available for questions or concerns or reviews you may want to have. Great. All right, so eligibility requirements, just reiterating, you need to be an arts professional, artist, humanities practitioner, at least 18 years of age. We do need you to be an adult. We need you to be, excuse me, a District of Columbia resident for at least 1 year prior to the submission deadline. And then that means we need to have a permanent DC address as listed on government issued tax identification or tax returns. We cannot use a PO box as proof of permanent address. And that is for all of our programs, not just the fellowship. If you are in the middle of housing transition or experiencing some degree of housing insecurity at this time, do reach out to us so we can work with you. We're very happy to work with a lot of situations. We just want to be kept in the loop. And then we do ask that you maintain residency through the granting period. Again, if something comes up, you have a gig somewhere out of state or across the world, or life circumstances change, again, please just keep us in the loop. We're very happy to work with you, and please don't use the possibility of something happening next August stop you from applying. As I said, just keep us in the loop. We do ask that you be in good standing with us at CAH. What that means primarily is that if you are a returning applicant, if you have received this award in the past or any of our awards in the past, that you are up to date with us on all of your paperwork and any outstanding reports. If you have any questions about that, I do ask that, I recommend that you reach out to your grant managers, whoever that may be as contact. There are a bunch of us here, so we'll get that cleared out. Shouldn't be a problem for most folks. And then also be current on all taxes and liabilities owed to the district, or have an approved plan to resolve such as demonstrated by the certificate of clean hands. I'm going to talk more about clean hands later on and get some clarity into this. So don't let this panic anybody. All right. Eligible individuals, if you checked all those boxes, you may submit one grant application for this program accessible from the CAH website at dcarts.dc.gov. You may have already applied this year for the Projects, Events, or Festivals individual grant. I know there's a lot of folks who apply for both. You are eligible to apply. You can apply to multiple programs, just one application per program. And we must receive that application by 10 p.m. Eastern on Thursday, June 26. I know that in some places up until about 15 minutes ago, it may have had our old deadline of June 17th, but it is June 26 at 10 p.m. And staff will be available until that deadline. I'll be online right up until that moment. So if you do run into any technical difficulties, you'll have folks you can reach out to. And we do need those applications submitted online through our grants portal. As our first question break, we've reached that. So a couple of questions. How do I see what my grant writer wrote last year for my grant? You should be able to see prior applications in your portal. I'm going to show in a couple of slides a little bit down the line, a couple of views of what you should see in the portal as an applicant. I'll point out where you can find prior application information. If you served as a panelist last year, do you need to resubmit an application as a panelist? You should probably just refresh with us. We've got a couple of resources on our website. We're kind of gearing up for a few overhauls of information, so it'd be good to check in with us and make sure we've got correct contact information and interest for that. And then everybody reassured me slides were here, and I appreciate all of you. Last year, I had a lot of trouble for the Clean Hands certificate. We're going to talk about clean hands once, and hopefully things will be easier for folks if you've done it before. Will the recording of the session be sent to us at the end? I can send it out. But we also have we'll have this available on our YouTube page, and because that question always comes up, I'm going to drop our YouTube page into the chat right now. And you can all enjoy that and re-listen to any of our workshops at any time and fall asleep listening to us giving PowerPoint presentations, which I know is just the most soothing thing in the world. But I do have this here. This will have a couple of versions of this workshop. We do try and put up a few copies so that people can refer back to them at any time. Okay. I'm gonna keep us moving forward here. All right, so let's dive into the application itself. We'll talk about the required questions, narrative responses, and a few other things. All right. So the application, before I dive into this, I just want to say, if you are a returning applicant, if you have applied to us in the last 2 to 3 years, let's say, last year, the year before that, it is virtually unchanged. It is pretty much the same information that we have asked for the last few years. No big surprises. So that's comforting, I hope. But just a refresher of what we're looking for. We are going to want your name, your address, some of that good basic information. If you are a returning applicant, this is a great time to just refresh everything, make sure it's still up to date. Did you move? Is that still how you spell your name? Anything like that. Just make sure it's up to date. Then we have the narrative questions. There are 3 short answer questions in the application, and then your work samples. roughly speaking, for your work samples, it's going to depend on the medium of your work and what you are doing. But roughly speaking, we would like 10 images, 10 still images, or 2 5-minute audio visual recordings, or 10-ish pages of a writing sample, or a reasonable mix of different forms. So maybe you have if you're a visual artist, maybe you have a video recording of your process of you creating your art, or a walkthrough of an exhibition plus 5 images. Maybe you have a couple of pages of a written project plus an audio recording of you reading. It can be a lot of things. It's really going to be dependent on the artwork that you do. And if you have questions or concerns about any of those things, again, that is what we are here for. That is what we, the grant managers, are here to help with. And then required documents, those are some compliance documents that we need for eligibility and processing with DC government. Okay. So step 1, after you've logged in and done all this stuff, is going to be selecting your discipline. We are open to 10 disciplines, which we have identified for the purpose of panel organization. This is really about us making sure that we are getting your applications and your materials in front of the right eyes. We have a strong community of panelists and reviewers who are experts in the arts, and we want to make sure that people who understand your work are looking at your work. So we have panel organization. So we ask for one of these categories to best represent your discipline and your work samples and how you wish to be reviewed. So again, broadly speaking, that's going to be dance, design, go-go, anyone in the go-go community, not just musicians, humanities, interdisciplinary, media arts, music, teaching artists, theater, and visual arts. So a couple of little things here just to think about here. Design arts is where we tend to get a lot of fashion and a lot of jewelry and a lot of design specific things, a little bit more craft oriented in some ways. Humanities is where we tend to find our writers, our poets, our historians, our novelists. If your main work sample is going to involve the written word, we're probably going to see you in humanities. Interdisciplinary is where you are is where your artwork, your art form includes 2 or more of these other categories, and really kind of intertwined. We find a lot of our curators in interdisciplinary or anything where you're kind of really united in your work styles. Media arts, we tend to get our filmmakers and documentarians there. Music is, again, very broad. Are you a singer? Are you a songwriter? Are you a musician? Teaching artists is a really interesting one. A lot of folks know that they are teaching artists. And then there are those of us who don't know that we're teaching artists. So as an example for that one, when I am not here at the commission, I do a lot of fiber craft. And normally I would be, if I was applying to this for this grant, and I am deeply ineligible, I might look at my work samples of a lot of my fiber craft, and I might have a debate over, do I go to design or do I go to visual arts? But the reality is that I spend a lot of my time now teaching my crafts. And so a lot of my work samples are actually of me teaching. And so maybe I belong to teaching artists. And if you are having that kind of debate or anything like that, that's when we can be of real assistance, and you can talk with us about these things. Theater and performing arts, again, broad category, and then visual arts. We do take, again, a very broad view. Installation art, performance art, gallery art, whatever we are doing. And I know I've seen a lot of questions popping in there. And if you are unsure of which discipline to choose, look at your artist statement, look at your work samples, look at your support materials, choose the category that best reflects all of these things. And if you are unsure about any part of that, do contact a grant manager. On the other side of the application, when the application closes, we do review everything. We do go in and we vet, and sometimes a couple of things we will, if we feel very strongly that you have self-selected into the wrong category, we might reach out to you. In general, we trust you to pick your own category, but every once in a while we do find an application where we say, I think you misclicked, and we'll reach out to you if that is the case, and we'll talk with you about it. Because again, we want you viewed by the people who understand your work best. And if you have questions up front, again, really contact a grant manager. And I know there's a bunch of questions that came through, and I promise I'll answer them when I get to my Q&A slide. So required responses on the online application. We are going to want your name. We have your, these are going to be your kind of screener questions. Have you applied for a grant from us within the past 5 years? Have you received a grant from us within the past 5 years? And has your address changed? These are all informational questions. None of these are going to impact your eligibility. It's really just information. And then you're going to get through that, and we'll have our narrative section, which is going to be 3 different questions. And we do recommend you compose in another program and then cut and paste your text into the portal. So those 3 statements are going to be an artist statement, a work statement, and a community statement. The artist statement is, why do you do what you do? The work statement is, what do you do? And the community statement is going to be, why are you in DC? What makes you a DC artist? So just diving in a little bit further into each of those 3 statements. The artist statement of, why do you do this? This is your chance to introduce yourself to the panelists. Who are you? What is the passion that drives your work? How did you come to this art? Were you boring dancing, or did you embrace it later in life? And these are going to be the guiding questions we're going to have for our panelists, and this is all in the RFA. I should have mentioned this earlier. We do have an RFA, a request for applications, on our website that has all of this laid out, all of this in detail, and I do recommend you read through it a few times as you're preparing your applications. But as you are writing your artist statement, the guiding thoughts we have are for the panelists are going to be, are you demonstrating as an applicant creative and original ideas and perceptions? And or are you a holder, a preserver, a perpetuator of traditional art forms? We do hold both very much in equal value. And is that statement working with your work samples to demonstrate a personal voice and an artistic vision? Do you have a clear and unified body of work? From your statement and your samples, do the panelists have an idea of who you are and what you do? The work statement goes with your work samples, and this is going to clarify, give an opportunity for clarifying your work samples. This is, what do you do? This is a chance for you to discuss your work in more detail, give guidance on how the work should be viewed. If you've got, is there a way that we should be looking at them? Is there an order? Is there something about your practice that we really should be paying attention to? What are your works? What is your work? And the statement and your work samples are going to work together to demonstrate your technical capabilities within your chosen discipline. And those samples should match your cohort and support your artist statement. And then the community statement is, why here? Why are you a DC artist? What makes you a DC artist? We would like for some guidance on your arts or humanities communities. Is that just the street you live on? Is that a larger neighborhood that you are part of? Is it that you are part of a collective or some organization? Are you part of something that is national or international? Ask folks to mute themselves again. And then how does your work engage or reflect to our residents and visitors, or are you representing DC in other markets? Are you the DC person along the East Coast, along the whole country, worldwide? What is it that makes you a DC artist? Okay. Q&A, I'm going to go back through the questions that I came here. And I'll go through them, I promise. Okay. If you are a filmmaker applying to the media cohort, and I only submit 2 videos as samples, will it count against me if I include more? It's not going to count against you, but we don't want to overwhelm anyone. I've seen some applications that are just, it's too many samples. So we're trying to keep it within a kind of reasonable amount for panelists to review. If you have questions about your samples or you want them reviewed, that's where we have that opportunity to reach out and talk with us. And we had a lot of, what does humanities include? Humanities includes a lot of writers. It includes a lot of things. We have a very broad definition of humanities that can be architects, it can be archaeologists, and I will start doing this alphabetically and then it'll get weird. But we do have a lot of writers in humanities, broadly speaking. For written journalism, that's an interesting one because that's one that kind of straddles the line between media arts and humanities a lot. And that's one where I might suggest you reach out to Mauricio and Kayla to have a conversation with us. For writing samples, can it be some short pieces or a short and longer one that make up the total? Yes, absolutely. You can mix and match your samples to reach that. And if things go over a little bit, I said for video samples, 2 5-minute videos. If one is 5 minutes and one is 6 minutes, it's probably okay, but we don't want to go too far out of range. Should I do interdisciplinary if I do music and go-go? I would reach out to us. I would touch base with Robert and Patience, or at least one of them, and they'll get the other one. And we can really talk about your work samples there and figure out where you fit best. And we'll go from there. Question for music, instead of 2 5-minute songs, could I do 5 2-minute sections of songs, or is the former preferred? That may really be a question of how it gets presented. I mean, the math works out, but we might want to have just a review. That is something that is available to everyone. I'll have some, you can do an application review with any of us, especially if you have questions about samples. I do encourage that. As long as you reach out to us by June 20, the deadline is the 26th. If you reach out to us by June 20, we can do an application review. We just have that kind of June 20 deadline because we want to make sure we give enough time, that we're not trying to rush anyone, and that we're giving adequate time for review. And you can cut together samples into reels for multiple projects, but if that is going to be too long or too burdensome, don't do that. Great conversation here about filmmakers and media samples, and all of you should go talk to Mauricio about that. He can't wait. Would it be okay to include one of samples that was included in last year's application? Yes, that is okay. You are absolutely, for anybody who is a returning applicant, you may absolutely reuse materials from prior year applications as long as they are still relevant for your work. That can be work samples, that can be an artist statement, that can be support materials. I do recommend very much, if you are reusing any materials or any statements, that you take the time to review and revise and make sure you still feel confident in things. But you do have, you can reuse materials. We do try to put everybody in front of new panelists every year, so you don't have anybody saying, oh, I saw this last year. Do individuals have to have clean hands, or that's just for businesses? Everybody does need to have clean hands. All applicants for our programs, we do need clean hands. What type of feedback do you give in an application review? Boy, that's a good question. I will never in an application review say that you absolutely should or should not do something, because I don't want to overly sway you in any direction. I can give some guidance on things that I find confusing to me or questions that you might consider, or answer any questions that you might have. For application reviews, I really like to treat it as a conversation, but I want you to feel confident in your work more than what I might do. It is not my application. I'm just here to review them. And then we have a question here on subdiscipline. Is it mandatory to select? Ooh, I've got a section coming up on that, so I'm going to defer that question. And I'm going to keep us moving, I think. Great questions, everybody. Thank you. So let's talk about some application documents. And I promise I'm going to answer some of these things. So in addition to those statements and other things, we're asking for a couple of other parts of this application: your artistic resume, your work samples, and your support materials. So the artistic resume, or CV, what we're looking for here and asking for here is your artist resume. So not necessarily the one that you're uploading to LinkedIn or any other place, but the one that's a summary of your arts and humanities work. The style of it is going to be very dependent on your practice and your area of work. We're not looking for a specific format here. So is this your headshot and resume? Is this also just a list of projects completed within the last 3 years? Is it a list of shows you may have done or projects you worked on? But we're looking for a list of your professional experiences and artistic achievements. Those work samples, your requirements and limits are going to depend on the discipline, as I said. If you have any questions about how your practice fits into the cohort, do reach out to a grant manager. But this is really important. We would like those work samples to be no more than 3 years old. So if you used something last year that was within those 3 years and it's still within those 3 years, great. Happy to have it back again. But if we would like to have things that are within the last 3 years. For image files, JPEGs and PNGs, just a note that a lot of the photo file type on things like iPhones is a .heic, and it doesn't work super well with our portal. So we do want to make sure we're using JPEGs and PNGs. Audio files may be an MP3. Document files for work samples and for all other documents that we ask for, we do ask that it be a PDF. It is just easier. We are Windows-based here at the Commission. I cannot open a pages or numbers file from a Mac very easily. And I also am well aware that if I send out a document or an Excel file to somebody working off of a Mac, it's not great. So we do ask for PDF, it's the most stable. Video files, we can take a YouTube link, we can take a Vimeo link, we can take an MP4. If you have any password protections on any of these materials, do make sure you provide that for our panelists and reviewers. And just a note, if you want panelists to view your work, it must be in the portal. We do not want a list of links that will direct viewers to another site. We do not want to have a statement that says, visit my website for more or check out my Instagram here. We're not looking for your SoundCloud. We want the actual files to listen to. Support materials. Support documents are here to reflect your discipline of practice. They serve to strengthen the application and provide additional information, and they do not take the place of a work sample. These are going to be very different based on your practice, and they're going to be what is most useful. For all of these, my general guidance is don't include anything you have to put a lot of extra work into getting. There is no mandatory selection of things we're looking for, but some examples to think about: a contract for past or future work, programs, reviews, playbills, awards, letters of support from parents or students or collaborators, surveys, proof of sale of work, more reviews, mentions and articles, things like that. All right, I got some more questions that came through. You have a few deaf people that would like to attend these meetings for other grants. For requests on accommodation, you're going to reach out to our CAH accessibility at dc.gov. I'm going to drop that at dc.gov. And we can arrange for things. We do need a couple of days to set things up like that. For the CV, do we include work samples that we've done all over the DMV or just DC especially? It can be all of your work. It can be your work that you did just in DC. It can be the work that you did in Maryland and Virginia or Montana or Mongolia. I got real stuck on the M's there. It just the work that is relevant to your application, or really to your practice, not just to the application, but to your practice. It can be all of your arts and humanities work. Can image files for a visual artist be set up as a multi-page PDF? They can be. They can be. You know, if you might want to set up a review time with us just so we can look at it together. Are video links an exception to the no links rule? Sort of. I'm going to show in a little bit how that works. The YouTube and Vimeo link thing integrates with our portal viewer, so you don't actually leave the portal at all. What we don't want is for there to be a statement or a PDF that says, visit my YouTube channel here. What we want is a very specific video embedded. Are supporting materials more than a year old still helpful? If they're still relevant. Would an article I wrote about the history of my art form be better as a work sample or support material? I'm going to let you decide that. That's in a fuzzy's area. We might do that as a review discussion. Would you recommend including the previous artist fellowship as part of the supporting material? You can. Will a slideshow be acceptable so I don't have to attach a Dropbox link? I think you might want to reach out to us and set up a meeting, because we don't want Dropbox links. So we should talk about your art from and samples. What's the portal review the past grant? We're going to get to where to find past grants in just a moment here. All right. Thank you. All right, let's go to the next section for the portal. All right, how do you get to the application and how do we do all these things that I allege you can do? So on our website at dcarts.dc.gov, and this is a little out of date now. There's a little bit of a different layout, but under programs, you should find grants. And then when you click there, you will be brought to our grants page. This grants page has all of our information about our current funding opportunities, our past funding opportunities, links to assistance, links to additional resources and paperwork that we ask for, and a couple of other things. It also has, if you scroll down far enough, a link to our portal and to our application portal. When you click on that link, it should bring you here to this page. If you are a returning applicant, you will click on the sign in button, the much smaller sign in button. If you are a brand new applicant, you will sign up today. I've had a couple of people reach out to me that their email address is not available. And that is because you probably already have an application somewhere, or you've set up an account with us at any point in the last 10 years. So if that happens, do check to see if there is a password retrieval or reset you can select, and we'll go from there. But this is a good time. Your name and address in the portal should match exactly the name and address you use on all of your grant documentation, like your W-9 and statement of certification. And so if you have moved in the last year or plan to move in the next year, it's a good time to just double check, make sure we've got the correct information. All right. So when you are into your application, you find the fellowship. You're going to find a couple of things here. Your applicant profile is your name. This is your government name, the one that goes on all your ID and official documents. Your request name, or the question for applicant doing business as, this is your working name. So if you are known by another name, if everybody knows you as this person, and nobody knows that government name, and only your mother or somebody else calls you that name, this is where you're going to tell us your applicant doing business as. I would ask that you do not use a title like artist for your applicant doing business as. It gets a little confusing. But this is going to be the request name is the name that we will use to refer to you and to speak about you in our panels. So do make sure we've got that information. The artist or practitioner type, this is that question about subgrouping. So the artist or practitioner type is a very, very long list of a lot of breakdowns of different style of artist, where it's not just a painter, you're not just a visual artist, you're a painter, and you're not just a painter, you're a watercolorist. Or if you're a dancer, you're a clogger versus ballet. That is an informational thing. You can give us as broken down in information as you would like, but the thing that we actually need to know is your discipline for the cohorts. So feel free to put whatever practitioner label you would like for yourself here. But also for the panel cohorts, that is the one that we really need to be accurate. All right, let's talk a little bit about work samples and how to upload them. So in your application page, this is kind of the basic menu once you've logged in. If you have not started an application, you'll click on the new application button. If you start an application, then the drafts are going to hang out in this requests tab. Your open applications are any current materials you're working on. Your submitted applications are going to have prior year application materials. So if you are looking for what you wrote for your artist statement last year, you should be able to find it under submitted applications. Or if you're looking for a piece of paperwork or anything else, it should be there. You also have under submitted applications or closed applications, a couple of things here, including your media library, your document library, and awards. My award shows up if you have received an award from us in the past. And then the media library and the document library are useful tools. All of your work samples need to go into the media library. So if you have any images, if you have any video, any media samples, those need to go into the media library. The document library is a nice place where you can leave any pieces of paperwork you might want, something you want us to see, and you want kind of a secure drop place where we can retrieve it from. Those are available for you there. So attaching media samples from your media library is a two-step process. It's going to be you're going to upload to the media library, and then you will attach the media from that library. So let's break that down a little bit here. Here is your, this is what it should look like if you have attached things properly. We should be able to see here a linked Vimeo video. So this is what I mean by it's integrated. So if it has attached properly, if the link has worked properly, we should be able to see a preview of the application, of the work samples in your application itself, in the requests. So here we go. We're in your media library. Here's my media files for my media library. You're going to link here. So the description is where you're going to give us your title of your work. If you have timestamps for us, if you have password protections, it's a great place to put them is in the description. You can also put them in the work statement box. If you have a YouTube video or a Vimeo video, you can drop those links directly in here and they will integrate into the portal. So nobody is leaving the portal to view the work. So it's all integrated. So it's not necessarily an exception to the no outside links rule, but more of a enhancement of that rule. So you can put as many things here as possible. If you are trying to decide from a very large collection of images what you want to curate into your work samples, you can put a lot of things here. If you are returning as an applicant and you are looking to reuse materials, they are going to be here in your media library and you can check. All right, so you've uploaded everything there. and then you're going to go, and then you're in your application. We're in the work samples page, and you're going to go to the media viewer section and attach media from library. When you click on that button, it's going to open a pop-up window. So make sure your pop-up blocker has been temporarily disabled, and it's going to give you a pop-up window, and then you will select your images or your files from that window. You'll click on the name. Just a note for all my visual folks who are attaching a list of images. Those are not going to display in the order you attach them. They are going to display in alphabetical order. So if you are, if you need us to see things in a particular order, I recommend you start their names with a number so that they display properly. And you'll be able to see that final display order in a final review. All right. Okay. I had a couple of questions that came through the past grants you wrote. So that's going to be in that closed applications or submitted applications. That's where you should be able to find prior application materials. If you are an individual and need clean hands, it is available on the DC tax site. I've got some parts coming up on that. Will it create any admin problems if I'm applying as an individual using my name, but select the doing business as to be the name of my production company? You can use your production company name there for the doing business as. That would be fine, especially if it's a single LLC situation. You can do that there. For writer work samples, are you submitted through the media viewer or through documents? If it is going to be a PDF of the written stuff, those are going to go in the work samples. So we have a section of the application that is all the documents, and there is a line there for work samples. If you are only using the media viewer, you can just put a placeholder document for the work samples there, or an image list is fine. You know, if you've got 10 images and you just want to give us a list of the name, of the title, and the dimensions, you can put that there. But for folks who might have, you know, 10 pages of written materials, the work samples line there under documents. That's where those work samples are going to go. They don't have to go into the media viewer. They can go in that work samples line. If some of my work sample submissions include work credited under a previous name used, will that be an issue? It will not. As long as it's your work, it should be fine. I can't find the link to enter the application online. Kayla's got it. Thank you, Kayla. Hi, Kayla. How do we request an application review, and does the application need to be fully complete before we request a review? You request it by reaching out to us. Just send an email to us where all of our contact is online, and I'll bring up our contact list again at the end of the presentation so you can copy down our email addresses. Just reach out to us so that we know that we need to do this. The application does not need to be fully complete before you request the review. It can be partial. We would like you to have a couple of things there so we know what we're talking about. Feel free to reach out to us if you have not started at all, or you just want to talk before you get started. But it's great if you want to have, you know, I've got, you know, half a statement and some of my images up and I'd like a review. That's fine. We can do that. With the NEA shifting its funding priorities away from social justice type work, will that impact applications here, or should we only apply for work that aligns with the NEA priorities? Do not worry about what the NEA is doing for this grant. This grant is not connected to the NEA in any way, but also we're not going to worry about any of those NEA priorities for the fellowship. So we are fine. Okay, great. All right, I'm going to keep moving forward. So then finally, some compliance documentation here. We do need proof of DC residency. That can be a driver's license or an ID card or an alternate proof of residency. I like to go by voter registration rules. Statement of certification, a W-9, and the clean hands, as promised. Finally, we'll talk about it. So proof of residency, we need your a copy of your driver's license. It can be just a scanned image, or an alternate proof of residency. That might be a copy of your lease, a utility bill, a bank statement. please, 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 for any of these things, please redact or mark out sensitive information. I do not need to know your account numbers. I do not want to know your account numbers. Please don't tell me these things. I just need the signed document. I just need the proof of address, please. And just a reminder, a passport is not proof of residency. Good to have, great to have, but not proof of residency. The statement of certification, this is a document required by the government of the District of Columbia for compliance with all grant making across the government. What this statement says at its core is you are identifying who is authorized to negotiate with us, the agency, on behalf of you, the applicant. You are self-certifying here. You don't need to find someone or deputize someone. You are going to self-certify this for yourself. So you are going to put your own name on this, and you're going to say that you are an individual, and you've got your address. The grant program is the fellowship, the FY26 AHFP. And then we just have we need your name and your address here. This is a 4-page document. The first page, we need this filled out with the name and address information. And on the 4th page, we will need a signature. We need to have, and the middle 2 pages are just information. All signatures that we ask for on documents need to be signed and dated in ink by hand or with a verified e-signature. So that might be that you're going to print it out and sign it and scan it. Or if you've got a verified e-signature service like DocuSign or Adobe, that's great. If you are able to use your finger to manually sign something on a tablet or something, that is also acceptable. We cannot take a fancy font is really what we're saying. We've gotten really good at finding fancy fonts, but we need to have a manual signature of some kind. Great, and then save it as a PDF. We do have a fillable copy of this form available on our website. And if you are running into any difficulties with the signature portion, do reach out to us. Please reach out to us so we can help. Then we also need a W-9, and we need a fresh one every year. This needs to be the March 2024 version. That is the newest and most up-to-date version of the W-9. Somebody in the world still has a December 2010 form, and I don't know why, and I need to not receive that. I need the March 2024 form, especially if you are awarded and I need to pay you. Again, the name here should match on all documents in the portal. This is your government name. This is really good to note because we've come close to this question. You are applying as an individual sole proprietor. And we need to have your social security number as the tax ID. I know a lot of folks have a sole proprietor LLC or another kind of single person company. We cannot have your EIN. We need to have your social security number for the tax ID for this grant. This grant is an individual one, and the way it is set up with DC government is paying out the individual, not paying out an organization. It's just something to keep in mind. Again, signature needs to be a manual signature. Same deal with the statement of certification, signed and dated. I know it says dated in 2024. It actually is 2025 now, and I just didn't update this slide. And then save it as a PDF and submit it to us. Again, if you have any problems, do reach out to us, please. Okay. All right, let's talk about clean hands finally. I know we've all been waiting for this, the most exciting part of this. If you have never, ever received a certificate of clean hands before, you will apply on the DC Office of Tax and Revenue or MyTaxDC, mytax.dc.gov. You will apply. There is a clean hands section. You will request a certificate of clean hands. You will follow their prompts. It can be a bit of a hassle. I am aware. It is unfortunately a bit of a hassle. And then it is, and then you receive your PDF of your clean hands. If you are unable to obtain that certificate of clean hands by the deadline of June 26 at 10 p.m., you may still apply for the grant but you need to tell us what's going on. We just need to know what the situation is so we can work with you. But for those of you who have received a certificate of clean hands in the past, you can validate it. So you don't need to go to the full request process. So on the OTR website, on my tax, under the clean hands section, where there's a nice lady opening a door that says open, there are 3 options. I want to request a certificate, I want to validate a certificate, and I want to learn more about the certificate. If you have received a certificate in the past, at any time since April of 2020, you may validate your certificate of clean hands. You will need the notice number, which is in the top right-hand corner. It starts with an L and is about 12 digits long, and you will need the last 4 digits of your tax ID, which is going to be your social. You will follow the prompts. You click on validate, follow the prompts, put in the notice number, put in those 4 digits, and it will give you an updated clean hands certificate. You do not need to go through the whole request process. If you have applied at any point in the last 4 years, you should have one. Somewhere in your, it might be in your documents, it might be in your past applications, it might be somewhere. We might have one on file. But it is a much faster process than going through the whole request cycle. So that's my big secret for clean hands. It's really useful, it's really fast. If you come back and you find out that you are non-compliant, because what clean hands means is that you do not owe the government more than $100, which might be anything from parking tickets to your quarterly taxes, it's fine. If you are pulling your clean hands on December 26th at 8 p.m. and it's the last thing you need and it comes back as non-compliant, please just put that certificate in the application and shoot us an email that says, hey, I got this, I'm working on it, and it will be okay. Great. I know folks are jumping because it's already 1, so I'm going to try and get through the rest of it. Just a reminder, save and upload everything as PDF files, all the documents. We do want your name and address to be consistent on all application materials. If there are anything is weird, anything is off, even the apartment number is inverted or anything like that, it slows us down in processing because we've got to untangle that and we want to make sure we get things right. Just real quick on a timeline here. So after you apply, after June 26th, we will review all of these applications. We are reviewing for eligibility and completion. We're going to sort everything into cohorts for panel review. Then we send everything to our panelists. They will review and score. We then take those scores to help calculate our final awards. And then on or after, I'm gonna get a word out, on or after October 1, we will make our award announcements for all of our grant programs. October 1 is the start of our new fiscal year. That is when we make the announcements. If you are awarded, you must complete and return some required forms, really our grant agreements and things, and then we will walk you through any of the additional systems. There is a new DIFS payment system and things like that. We would walk anyone through. All applicants, whether you are awarded or not, may request panel feedback notes starting in November of 2025. We do ask that you give us until November to get ourselves sorted, but we will do that. You can have a call with us, you can have a video with us, you can come in with us, you can just get a copy of those notes. We are offering those and we will remind everyone in October that this is available. And then checks and payments go out sometime after all of that. And if you are awarded, we do need a report from you in October of next year. Just a note on that report. I remember how I said this was not a project grant. It is not a project grant. I do not need receipts. That report is a fairly simplified report. We just want a status update and see how things went. It's one of the best ways we can collect information from you about how things are going in the world. All of our grant making, we try to revise and realign every year so that we are meeting the needs of our community. Okay, I saw some final. Is it too late to request the panel feedback? No. Send us an email. If anybody applied last year and they would like to get panel feedback and they didn't already, shoot us an email. We'll try and get it to you as fast as possible. We are dealing with a heavy volume of everything, but we'll try and get stuff out to you. So some final notes. Live chats with grant specialists every Friday from 2 to 3 p.m. on Zoom. Here in this fun virtual space, we have a live chat. These are very informal. There's no specific program, but you can hop on and ask questions. There's usually a bunch of grant managers. We're happy to answer questions. We will be there this Friday, and we'll probably throw another one up next Friday. Just a note for everyone. Next Thursday is Juneteenth. We will be closed. Our offices will be closed in observance of Juneteenth. We will be back on June 20. So we should be around for a live chat on the 20th. If you're trying to get in touch with us. As I said, we need to know if you would like a review from us by close of business, so 5 p.m.-ish on June 20. Just make sure you're on our lists. This is it. This is sort of the last workshop. We're going to put one up for next Tuesday and in the afternoon. So nothing new information-wise. It's the same workshop, just in varying degrees of enthusiasm from me. If any of you were here for the workshop last week, I was not feeling great, so that's not a great one to watch, but feel free to watch it. But we do have one more workshop coming up. Like I said, it is all the same information, and this will be on our YouTube channel in the next little while. Thank you for coming today. I know some folks have already hopped off, but thank you for being here. I appreciate everyone, and I appreciate you, using the chat so I can keep an eye on questions. I really do appreciate that. I'm going to backtrack this so many slides to our contact names. Oh my gosh, there's so many of us. And I'll leave this up for a little while. Also, feel free, I'm going to stick around for another little while if anybody would like to unmute themselves and ask questions. I know I sort of promised that I would do that, and then I just kind of kept going. But we'll be here for a little while. If you do have questions, please unmute. I can't see everyone, so I just want to mention that.
Harry, I have a question.
Yeah.
I've listened to most of the presentation. I did have to step away for a few minutes. So it feels like this is sort of like a general operating support grant in a sense for individuals who.
That's exactly how I describe it.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So there's no expectation of you have to do a thing. I did hear you say that you don't have to do a thing.
You don't have to do a thing. You have to keep making art.
Yeah, keep making art, which is what we're going to do anyway.
That is the thing.
Okay, that is the thing. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
That's something new.
Sorry, what?
I've been out of it for about 3 or 4 years, and when I was there for quite a long time, we had to produce certain things. So what I've been hearing, I just heard you say it, that it isn't strict about the art that you're presenting. Like you said earlier, we could use material from 3 years ago. And
yes, as long as it's within the last 3 years.
right.
Yep.
And I was under the impression that all the funds had to be related to your physical material. So that went away.
Nope. You can use it how you need to support your art. Very broad interpretation of what you need to do.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Hi, my question is, how do we sign up for an application review?
Just email us.
Okay.
Yeah, grab my email from this. I'm also the point of contact on the website. If you go to our website and you look up this program, you should find all of our names. If I am not the right person, I will connect you with the right person. Yeah, but yeah, just email one of us.
Beautiful,
and
thank you.
we'll get it done.
Hi, I think you, wait, sorry.
Yeah, go for it.
It keeps cutting out. I think it's my fault. But I wanted to clarify, you said that you post these on your YouTube channel? Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
All of our
okay,
workshops are there.
perfect. And then, okay, great. I missed like the first 20 minutes, so good to know.
You
And
can
then
watch the first 20
for
minutes
the
3
page,
times.
perfect. The page that's up currently, if I have any questions about any of this stuff, should I just contact directly the person who fits under the category I'd be applying to?
Yeah, yeah, just go ahead and directly contact us. And if halfway through your question, we say, oh, I think you need to talk to somebody else, we'll make sure you link up correctly.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Carrie?
Yes.
Hi, this is Jeff Slifer. Here,
Hey.
hold on. I will get my camera on so I can be a person. Will it? There we go. Hello. So I'm having trouble with the clean hand certificate. I can't even log on to the tax thing. The website won't. It asked me for my total tax for last year that I paid.
Yeah.
And when I put the answer that's on my tax documents, it tells me it's wrong, and so I'm stuck right there.
Yeah, it kind of wants to be a riddle, doesn't it? I don't have a great answer. I would suggest reaching out to them directly. They do have an in-person office that has weirdly, I think, been really effective for some people.
Okay.
But also if you know, if you, I would also understand if you just said, I'm really frustrated and I can't get in time, but I promise I'm going to get it next week. If that was what ended up being in the application itself.
Yeah, but I want to get it. So
Yeah, no, I know. I completely get that. I just wanted to also like that is
thing.
on the table. Yeah, they do have, I would reach out to them directly. There is kind of this weird riddle that they give you is like, how much did you owe? It was like, that's wrong.
It's the number. I don't know what other number to put. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's what we've heard in the past, but
that's me.
yeah, they've been somewhat responsive. I'll see if we can get some contact information up to kind of get some more support out for folks.
Okay, that'd be great. Okay, well,
Yeah.
thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
You don't have a contact like name or number or something, do you? Or should I just look them up?
It's going to be on their website, and I'll see if I can do. You can also send me an email and just remind me that that's what you needed, and I'll see what I can find.
Great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Absolutely. All right. Stick around for another few minutes, but we are going to wrap up here in a minute. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then I might actually be able to see people and stuff. That would be cool too. But we're going to wrap up in a few minutes. I want to thank everybody for being here. And we'll stick around. And then we do have one more workshop, as I said, next week, and also our inbox is always open as I get emails. Oh my gosh, so many emails already. Thank you all for being here. I'm gonna shut this down in just a few minutes and we can all enjoy the rest of our days, but thank you all for being here.